it's
yeah, the modern world, I think, I don't know if you'd agree, the modern world is more separation. It's me versus you, my country versus your country.
yeah,
And it's moving almost more to separation. Take care of
yeah,
yourself. Don't worry about everybody else. I always use the expression rape, pillage, kill, and steal. Whoever's got the most toys when they die wins. That idea where it's like survival of the fittest. Whereas before it almost seemed like we were going in that direction. And now in the last couple of years, it's like we've shifted back and we're going the other way again. So I could see why they would not want to make that connection at this point.
yeah, because they worried for us that it's not going to be harmful for us.
Yeah.
This oneness that we talk about, that you talk about, it's something that is really something that they use. I mean, all of their consciousness is using the oneness for everything. It seems that the oneness exists. I mean, it's something that it is all the time, and all they have to do, and we can do it too, is be aware of this oneness.
Yeah.
And in the time I see that, like, teachings like non-duality is very close. I mean, the non-duality principle of the Vedas, the Hindu, and many things, like even the Jewish, that they say that God is one.
Yeah.
The name of God is one in Hebrew.
Yeah.
So it's the story in one sentence. It's amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. And another thing,
go ahead.
When I try to write the meeting, I saw that I don't have any words from the meeting because it was not in words. But I want to write. I want to, because there is something in my head. So for 3-4 months, I tried to find the words that is close. And then I saw that there is a way. There is a way in our language. It was in my Hebrew language, but I know it's in every language. It could be open. That in your language, if you look at the roots of the words, you can find the connection to the oneness of the idea of the word or the letter. It's very complicated, but there is a way that you can think differently and use your language to think differently and more close to the oneness.
Okay.
And I think this is the most strong way of getting the oneness understanding and the awareness from the language, from the way we think with words. Because it's like the words is the block and the connection, the same thing. The words can be something that block us, but be the same, the bridge.
Wow.
Yes, it can do it. And what week ago, I read a book of David Bohm.
Okay.
David.
The physicist. David Bohm, the physicist.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a philosopher too.
Yeah.
He was a philosopher too.
I've studied him quite a bit.
Yeah. And he has a book with the name, I don't know really the name, but it was something very close to oneness. I was curious, and I thought to myself, I know that the quantum mathematics is start to talk like this.
Yeah.
And I looked for his book, and I see that he realized the same. He realized that the way we can be connected to our superposition, that's his way to say the oneness. The superposition is the position of the particle is one place that is it's the ordinary way we see, and the superposition is the that everything is connected. And you know, in this science, you see this both position. And he says that the way the language can be treated as the same as we understand it in physics. Maybe read it. You know, my Hebrew is not.
I'm going to go back and reread it. Yeah, that's interesting, especially the idea of superposition. I'd never thought of that. That could be what that is.
Yes, yes, it's connected.
Yeah.
And another thing, you know, the out-of-body experience or the near-death experience. This is something that is very, very the same. Why? Because you see, when with my family, it happened a lot, you know, and they told me that each one that goes to the other side in the beginning, after he goes to the tunnel and beyond the white light, he meets persons that was protecting him in his life, or was sister or father or an angel or Jesus or Moses or Muhammad, or you know, each one gets. But the thing is that all of them see the same, but translated the way they lived, because they wake up from the oneness position, go back to the divided world, and have to have a word for what he saw. He felt a strong love, and they said that was Muhammad, or that was Jesus. But it was not each one of them, it was all of them. It was oneness. And when you meet the aliens, it's the same. One see the bad guys, one see the good guys, one see them short, one see them high. It's all translations of the same thing. And then this is the superposition. And it's very simple, but it's, you know, it's a little bit, it takes a little bit of time to digest it.
Have you written this up in the book, this idea of the quantum, tie it into quantum theory and stuff like that? Have you done that in the book, or are you going to tie that in?
Yes, yes.
Beautiful.
This one and the language, I write a lot of examples of that, of the language and the near-death experience, of course. My grandmother, my mother have and I showing the connection of everything together. This is all oneness too, you know.
Wow.
Things. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you so much because you say it all the time. And I wanted to say, hey, you're right, you know, I want to say to you, you're exactly doing the right thing, you know.
I definitely will be promoting your book big time, because finally, I mean, even the title, I mean, because this is what it's all about. Yeah. And people are going down these other roads and stuff. And that's where I always have the idea that if you have the encounter as you had, you sort of tap into, like I'm reading a book called Contact Modalities, where you make the contact, where you move, you go through almost like the rip in the veil, you go through on the other side, and you're able to sort of get the material, and then you go back into this world.
Yeah.
And through meditation, you're able to bring that material back through. And people don't. They sort of say, well, an experiencer is just having an experience. That's just their opinion. Well, no. This is real information.
Yeah.
Compared to the waking consciousness is like almost a dream. It's a sleep compared to the material that you've gotten through this experience. So I'm really excited that you've outlined this key thing, because I think it's the free survey. I don't know if you've done the free survey, but they asked the people, there's about 6,000 have been interviewed now, and they asked them this thing about, so what do you think the aliens, what do you think it's all about? And then the people all say, I really don't really know for sure, but I think it has to do with oneness and love. As 55% of the people say that. And the thing is, if you were to think of somebody coming from another planet, that's the last thing you'd think that they'd be here to tell you about. They'd be about talking about stealing the gold, or, you know, who's the leader or whatever. And it's about this very distinct concept that even people, even though they can't verbalize it, they just think it's got something to do with love and oneness, but they really don't understand how it works. Whereas I think you've actually have spent the time to try to put it into a book where this concept is going to come across. So I'm pretty excited that you're doing this.
Yeah. I was, I waited all the time because I felt that it's so complicated that can be misleading, and I didn't want it to happen. So I waited 30 years to realize and check again and check again.
Wow.
That I'm not wrong, with.
Wow, fascinating. Do you think that why you? Can I ask you the question? Why do you think you have some sort of special assignment that you agreed to this?
Maybe when first I told you it could be an accident. It could be an accident. I wouldn't be surprised if it was an accident that I woke up suddenly and I saw them. The difference between me and the others probably was because I was out of body and I had the chance to feel it good. And then when I saw them face to face, I could let myself be open and had this face-to-face communication and with a good attention, and they let me go to their consciousness. So it could be a coincidence, or it could be that there is agreement, because when I saw them when I was out of my body, it's like in the truth situation, I knew them.
Yeah.
They were like my friends from childhood. We were laughing. So if it was like this, it means that there is a past, but I'm not aware of that.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about that. So I cannot say specifically if I had a mission or not. I don't know.
Yeah. There is that sort of connect. You do have a sort of a connection with them, though. I mean, in terms of them helping you, you doing whatever that like you said, it's like family. It's like
yes,
they're sort of like part of you or related to you, or some connection that you really don't fully understand.
Yes.
Wow. Absolutely fascinating. So you had that experience, and then you've done meditation. Were there other experiences where they sort of came to you to correct something or to move you down a different road?
Yes, there were a couple of things like that. There was a dream that they made me go from, the dream was be mature in front of them, or understanding them, or like they are getting us ready to be confronted with them. This was the purpose of the dream. This dream is going to take me through the stages of being able to not to be afraid. And it was a very detailed dream. You have time for that?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Sure. I'm very interested.
The dream started when I was aware that I'm dreaming, and they are letting me this dream. So in the dream, I know that I'm dreaming.
Okay.
They took me to a movie theater. I was alone in the movie theater. And one of them was talking to me from the screen of the theater.
Okay.
And explaining me things. And I sit and I understand. I know that I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
And he explained, and I understand that I will not remember nothing from what he says to me in the dream. And he realized it in the same minute. So he told me, listen, we're going to change the dream now, that when you wake up, you're going to understand. What they done was amazing. Lift me up of the chair, make me a small baby, getting smaller and smaller, and going into the screen, into between the lines of the screen of the theater, of the movie. And I was going into the screen and going out of the screen from the other side of the screen. It was a tunnel with a white Right, like I'm a child that is born,
Yeah.
a birth, a new life now.
Wow.
Like, yes, I mean, look at the idea, amazing.
Wow.
And the other side of the tunnel, I forgot totally that I was dreaming. Only when I woke up and I remember all the dream, I knew that stage was that I was aware that I'm dreaming, and after that, I'm not aware. So I'm a small child. I was a small child in a dark place. Not don't understand what I'm doing there. It's a dark place. It's like a kindergarten for children at the night, and suddenly I see something in the sky. I mean, a friend was sitting there, told me, look at the sky, and we saw a cigar UFO. Now that was in the year, I didn't know that there's cigars. Only a couple of years after that, it seems that it seems that the cigar shape is really one of the kinds of the UFOs that,
Okay.
and when we saw the UFO, my friend told me, I told to my friend, look at that UFO. And he told me, hey, be careful, what are you doing? They're gonna spot you now and they're gonna see you now. And my heart began to be afraid and I started to run. And when I was running, I felt they are running after me. And I came to the fence of the kindergarten. I went up and go down and watching who was running after me. And suddenly I see that was a small gray children with an ice cream that wanted to play with me. You know, the dream began as continued like this: kindergarten, school, and maturity.
Okay.
And each time they show me my fear and show me that it's all mine.
Wow.
And they show me that the fear is the most separated thing from love.
Wow.
The love is the essence of everything, and the fear that we have something very rooted in ourselves is always making problems to us, like stopping us from be connected to the oneness. It's the most
Wow.
Problematic thing from the oneness.
Wow.
Yes, and then there was so
fascinating. Wow. Well, I'm really encouraged. I may even try to get some people to bring you, if your book is finished, I may try to get you brought into some conferences, because I think you've got one of the most important messages, I think, where it's the one specific thing where people have to focus on this, rather, because people will go into what the aliens look like, did you see the ship, and they're into sort of like stories. They just want you to tell them a good story, whereas I say you have to get past the story. And I can understand where people, if you haven't seen anything, you hadn't experienced, you're sort of captivated with trying to prove it. But I say you've got to get past the stories to find out what's actually going on, like what is actually happening here. And I think that's where your story is, what's actually happening. Forget about all this other stuff. Assume that it's for real and understand there's something much more important than aliens from another planet or wherever they are. There's something really seriously important going on here. There's a message that people have to understand. And I think you've got the message. I mean, where they've almost like spelled it out to you to give it. I think there'll be a lot of people that sort of understand, where they will want to hear where you bring it all together in one book, we can promote that message. I'm really encouraged by listening to what you've told me. Fantastic.
Yeah, I wanted to do it all the time. I wanted to encourage you because you go that way, and I know how much it's true. How much it's
wow.
that's
Well, thank you for reaching out. I really appreciate. It's made my day. I mean, it's very encouraging. Where it's sort of like almost like a vindication that it wasn't just an idea. This was right. That, you know, because I'm getting it through various people, putting the pieces together, and it just seems that way to me. And then when you say, no, this is what it is, I was there. They told me, and then I think it's very encouraging because it is the #1 message for the world in terms of everything. I mean, even if you look at world politics, I always say, and you probably heard me say it if you listen to my stuff, that the anything that you consider to be evil is the belief in separation.
Yeah.
If you absolutely believe there is no separation, you cannot go to war. You cannot kill people. You cannot steal. You cannot do any of that kind of stuff. It's because you believe that you and I are separate, that I'm good, you're bad, this sort of thing, the belief in separation. And so you're bringing that to a head in saying, yes, the oneness is the key to solving all the problems that we have in the world that are causing us problems.
Exactly, and it's not so complicated to show it because you can see it in everything, even in the Bible. I mean, the story of the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the moment that they ate the apple of what? Of good and bad.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the separation that make us fall from the heaven. That's it. I mean,
wow, I never thought of that. That's right. That's right.
Very simple, but this is the thing. He said the knowing good and bad gonna kill you.
Wow. Well, that's again, that's worth the interview. Just that one piece of information that I guarantee I'll be telling people this idea. It's true. I mean, and it's almost like, where did they get that? It's almost like they had insight, whether it was biblical people or prophets or whatever. They got that moment of insight, which is the same message you got. You just got it in a different way than they got it, and it's all the same message. And then when people make it their own and then try to make it into a religion and move it into a world where they turn it into a separation thing again. I've got the right message, you don't, and it's all the same message.
They try to do it in a good way, but you know, it's like, and there is not so much separation between the angels and the beings. I think, you know, if you think angels, spiritual beings, and from then in the old days and spiritual beings now, it's most the same.
Yeah.
And maybe you know, the people that write these wise things in the Bible were like, you know, connecting to them in the same way.
The one thing you brought up, maybe you can elaborate for me, because I'm writing about this right now.
Yes.
In terms of, you mentioned the ego thing, and what I say is this: the ego is the same thing. It's that separation. I'm separate. I'm an ego, and that causes the problem. That if you can shut down the ego, that's where I'm doing this contact modality. Use hypnosis, out-of-body experience, near-death experience. The ego gets shut down, and you're able to tap into the field. Can you describe a little bit more about the fact, when you picked up the fact that they didn't have any ego, that these beings that you were encountering?
It's very strong and very different from what we think about ego. You know, what we think about ego is like the thinking of ourselves as let me say differently, what they felt. I mean, they didn't have ego from, I mean, the most important thing that let them be without an ego was the knowing that they are not made by themselves and not made accidentally, but there is something that makes them living even now. Their understanding of God, it's not the right word, but this is the way we can use. They understand that all of the living is kept by living every second. And the understanding of being alive from something else and not from the self make them be without an ego.
Okay.
It's a totally feeling of that I don't have any idea of. You know, I just felt that with them. For me, it was a joy. It was happiness. It was feeling like to be in a womb with a mama that keep you warm and protect you. You know, amazing thing. And they feel it all the time because they know something is protecting them. Doesn't matter what's going on. Something is very good and protecting, and you don't need a ego. This is one thing. The other thing is that because they are connected telepathically, it's more than people say telepathically, and they think that someone send words and the other hear it. It's just be connected.
Yeah, it has feeling and everything
is feeling with the others. They can feel each other.
Yeah.
When they feel each other, they don't need any ego. I mean.
Yeah. Wow.
For what? I mean, they don't need it.
Wow. It reminds me when you're talking about this that there was, I don't know if you've heard me tell the story, there was this guy, his name is Brett Oldham, and he was not really happy with, he was in that fear state sometimes about the beings, but he confronted them at one point and said, "What's your concept of God?" And he said, the tall being said, "We are one with the one who is all." And he said he was so taken back by what he had said, he had to sit down. He couldn't believe it. He's like, wow.
Yeah.
And that's that concept that you hear over and over again. But it's sort of hard for the way people think is to try to get that across as being an important idea. That's what you have to understand.
Yes, because it's very difficult for us to really understand it. Because of what? Because it's so simple. It's too simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple that it's one. And we cannot understand something like a friend of mine told me when I try to teach him go to a deep meditation and be connected to the one. He told me something amazing. He told me, listen, when I connect to the one, I feel so much bad because I'm getting lost inside. I don't find something eating me. I get observed by something big. I don't have my identity anymore.
Yeah.
That's the way the people think. I mean, that they are fear of being lost with the one. They don't really understand that they can have it. They think that they're going to lose their self.
Yeah. They're going to die, like they're going to be extinct. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess you can't blame them. I mean, if you're in that mindset,
yes.
And then you see the other, but if you have the experience of being in the one, then you realize it's not that the death, it's not that sort of thing. Yeah. But it's hard to explain it to people who have not had the experience, who have not felt that.
Yes, I understood that very much deeply. I had a hypnotic regression a couple of years ago to that situation of meeting with them, because I wanted to understand more if there is things that I was not aware.
Okay.
And with hypnotic, and what I understood in the hypnotic, it's like the psychiatrist told me to ask them, why do I am afraid? And they explained something very important. They said, when you are getting inside yourself and you get connected to your soul, your body getting afraid that you're going to die. Because it's not body anymore, and it's an instinct. It's not something that you are. It's not something that you can protect yourself. It's your body that getting a problem, because death is not body anymore, only soul, and for your body it's death.
Yeah.
No more, because you are afraid. And that's why many people say, when I saw the aliens, I felt the most fear, the most fearful thing that I had in my life. And for each one, it was different, but it was the same death. Most of them say fear of death, and it's connected to that. The way we translate almost getting to the oneness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Wow.